Call this meeting to order at 7 o'clock.
Wow.
We like to be punctual. Roll call.
Date present.
Burchett here.
Parker here. Minutes of January 17th, 2024.
I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public session. Anyone here for public session? Go ahead. Please state your name.
Hi, I'm Eric Johnson. I live on 20 Woodside Drive. And it's 100 yards that way.
Wow.
And we've lived here for 37 years. We moved in 1987. And it was a quiet neighborhood. And should I be at the
You can go
camera?
to the podium if you
Yeah.
like, but
Oh,
we're pretty relaxed here.
We are.
We're pretty,
Yeah, I see
you're
that
even off
before.
camera. The camera was a little bit messed up tonight, so it's okay
Anyways.
either way.
Anyways, when I believe it was after a few people were run over by backhoes, not backhoes, but forklifts within companies, they started mandating within companies backup alarms. And so it took some time. I worked graveyard for years, and it was 25 years ago that they mandated that. They lost someone over at Wyman Gordon. And many people had their toys run over, et cetera, et cetera. So anyways, I don't know when it started here, and it didn't start with you first. It started with Pandolph Perkins. And we all of a sudden heard backup sirens. And it was just like, but they're further. It was like, we're listening to, anyways, long story short, you're right through the woods from us. And you have backup sirens that are very loud compared, just because of distance. But they also are just that same piercing tone. And I do recall you in the town ordinances that you can't really make you can't have a noise complaint if it's temporary or if it's like a drone in the background or something like that, like engine noises and things like that. So we, with that in mind, we were saying, well, but they also said, but a beeping noise is irritating. But I don't find that in the minutes anymore. I have a feeling we got rid of it when everybody had to start putting backups. So anyways, my son was in Brooklyn. And all of a sudden they came up with an ordinance that said, you can't have backup sirens that are irritating. So they've come up with a new one. And what it is it's great because he lives in a very quiet area. You wouldn't think of Brookline. He's a mile from Museum of Fine Arts. You can hear Logan if they're like testing an engine. You just in the distance, you just hear a jet wound out. Maybe if they put new engines in or whatever. That's like okay, I guess. But anyways, they have backup sirens that are not irritating at all. The first time we heard them, it was like, that's excellent. And you knew where they were coming from because a lot of times you'll hear backup sirens. You don't even know where they're coming from. The building in the way, it could be over there, but ricocheting here and there. This is a different type of frequency that isn't frequency. It's really just, it sounds just like this. Shh, shh, shh. And the sound is the way they put it, and it's true. I can go right along with this.
You mind if I jump in, Mr. Chairman, or you want to?
Go ahead.
All right, so after you called, we replaced both of the backup alarms on our loaders with those backup alarms, exactly what you're talking about. And then, so we tried to call you It left you a couple of messages to tell you
Maybe
that we
gone.
did that. So,
Yeah.
both loaders, which are the ones that you hear going forward and back,
Yeah.
loading salt in the middle of the night, whatever,
Oh.
those have both been replaced with the 87 decibel, low frequency backup alarms that you're referencing right now. So that's where, I mean, we're still
These
gonna,
guys.
yep, well, they all look exactly the same, they just make different noises.
Yeah.
You're still gonna hear trucks backing up in the garage from time to time and whatnot. We're not replacing the whole fleet with them. I do also just want to make one point that I don't think you can make a noise complaint on public safety. Like I'd be like saying
Right,
the
right.
police's sirens are too loud or the
Right,
fire
right.
department's sirens. But, you know, for what it's worth, I mean, obviously, we try to be good neighbors, you know, to you folks. It's
Yeah.
tough being here. We
Right.
can see your backyards through the
Yeah.
woods with no leaves. So, we totally understand. Like I said,
Yeah, it
we
gets loud.
made a quick proactive decision to replace both the loaders with that low frequency backup alarm. So those are the things that you hear going back and forth all the time.
Right,
So,
right.
we
Would
hear
you
you.
be considering, yeah, my next step is Pandolph Perkins.
Good luck.
Right.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
I gotta say, you know, they weren't loud when all their, the conveyors were off in pit. Then they decided to bring them all over here, and next thing.
No, they've
They've always been there.
been there, number one. Number two, they updated them somewhere around what, 84,
They are
85?
quiet. They are.
They've been in the same spot. They
Well,
haven't-
I have aerials.
They have not
photos
moved.
Of them being over there.
That's
And I remember
portable.
seeing
The portable.
That's the portable. The one up here.
Yeah.
Was 84,
I know there was always
85.
one here, yeah.
It's always been there.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, they're supposed to be irritating. If they're not irritating, people ignore them and that's how they get run over. When I started in this industry in 86, they were mandated back then, so it's been a lot longer.
But we never heard them here,
Well,
you know,
We-
right 150 yards
As-
away.
I know why. I'll tell you why you hear them now. There's just no sand pile in the way.
Yeah.
Because we always used to funnel the sand pile and work out on the middle.
Interesting. I know.
So now there's no sand pile and it opens right up. We
and
did that for a reason.
hence why you're hearing them louder. As that quarry's growing, the sound is radiating out,
Yeah, that's
not
true.
up. It doesn't,
Yeah, they took
Up-
took
up
that
until,
way.
2007, there was a 50-foot wall that ran
I
from
remember.
Honey Farms all the way down. In 2006 or 7, they
When we
took that
moved
wall
in,
down.
there was a hill. There was a
Well,
big
yes,
hill. They
So
had.
now the sound is going up.
Yeah, so
uh,
we hear 190.
Like Ryan said, we want to be good neighbors.
Yeah.
However, under no circumstance will we go against the law.
Oh, no,
They
that's,
have to be there.
these are within OSHA and within the law. So that I hadn't gotten to that point, but at $100 a piece,
Yeah, we
You know,
replaced the two. I say as they fail in other trucks, we would put those in.
That would be
You know what I
great.
mean?
Yeah.
But I think the sound's different. I mean, there are a lot of institutions that are required. I know I brought up UMass to the guys. UMass requires them. They don't allow the beeping. They do meet all, you know, the regulations. Some people refer to them as CAT backup alarms. I don't know if the new CATs all have them or not, but I've heard them referred to as CAT backup
In the
alarms.
last, what, 6 years, 5 years, they're all cats are going to that?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely what will change too as
Yeah.
backup alarms fail. But for the loaders, that
and
was
it's
the,
definitely, you definitely hear them better. For some reason, because of the sound itself, you can tell which direction it comes from. Whereas the beep tends to, I don't know. I've been in places where I couldn't tell where the beep was coming from. And with these things, it's like you just hear them. You just know where they are, and they aren't irritating. So, anyways, I've brought some literature, and you already have the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for being proactive.
No problem. It helps a little bit.
I appreciate that. All right, thank you
Just
so
trying to be
much.
good
Thank you
neighbors.
for your time.
Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too. Okay. Updated pavement management plan.
Good evening, everybody. So in your packet, this page right here. You don't have that? Should be right after the minute. Yep, that's it.
Right here.
So what I do at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, depending on what it needs, is I reach out to the original consultant who did our pavement management plan and ask them to simply update it based on the road work that we have done. So what is updated, this is 100% updated through all the paving we've done as of January of this year. So that includes all the 140 work, the 52 work, Meeting House, Justice Hill, Lucas, all that work is included in here. So what it did is it brought our score up another couple points. So if you remember, our original score was 71. We're now at 76. So it does sound like a big jump, but I promise you it is. These are things that you kind of chip away at. Keep in mind that, because I was hoping for a bigger increase in score, and then I started to look into it, and we may work on 10 segments of road, and while we're working on those 10, the other 200 are getting a little bit worse. So if you're gonna update those 10, but every other one's gonna go from a 74 to a 73, you know what I mean? As time evolves, things deteriorate. So that's why you don't get the huge swing of a jump, but still, we're making progress. I also think it's important to update this plan because I want to compare apples to apples when we complete our new plans. I can guarantee you that when we complete our new plan with our new consultant, it's not going to be the same PCI, right? Because we can send 20 different people out there and they're going to give you 20 different answers. So I want to be able to compare these and say, okay, we left off here, we jumped to here, same plan, same numbers. Now we're going to take off with the new plan. So if that makes sense. But we'll keep this updated. It doesn't cost anything. It's very easy for them to do, but I wanted to share it.
I think it's really important to have it.
Yep.
And it's really important to share it.
Yep.
Especially with, well, we're gonna talk about the letter
Oh.
somewhere along the line. And I really do think if, as the town is going through a finance committee discussion, we'll call it a discussion, there seems to be a lack of education and understanding about what happens if they pull a little money out of the roads. I was going to request that they add money to the roads. And I understand nobody wants to add money, to a budget, but, when you look at what's going on with the roads, we've had a positive effect, but because we've been investing in the roads. And if they pull it back, it means that we're going to be sliding back because the 200 sections that you're talking about will become 220 sections. And the numbers will go down. And right now we're at a third world country.
No, we're not.
Yes, we are.
We're better than that.
No, mid-70s is third world
I
country.
disagree, but okay.
Well, according to the Army Corps.
Wow.
All right. That's what they say. So I'm not, I don't. It's time to start investing in our infrastructure. And that is not an easy thing. It's an easy thing to say. It's not an easy thing to do.
Right.
I think we all have to hit our state reps a little more to ask for more, because I don't think that we can, this has been possible because of all the money we've gotten from the state.
Yep.
It's
And actually using the money that we have.
right.
Our chapter 90 had a pretty good bank in it
Right.
that that should be on the ground. You know what I mean? And that's what we've done. So, and using the pavement management plan to kind of pick the proper segments of road to be fixing to make the impact.
First and foremost.
I couldn't,
Yep.
and like you kind of alluded to, I use this plan all the time for backup or, decision making, whatever. Now that's the whole point of it. So.
Right. Yeah. It's important.
Absolutely.
But I don't think our finance people necessarily understand the finer points of it. I think it's up to us to educate them.
Are we good with that?
I'm good.
Well, I for one am glad that our score is going up. I feel, and the feedback I'm getting from people I've talked to, our roads are in a lot better shape than they have been over the last years. I think they're doing a great job, especially with this plan, and I think this plan is key. Moving, to get us started and moving forward, rather than just riding around willy-nilly picking numbers. This gives us, something to look at. It gives us backup when we question, and I think it's a great thing. That's all. Dean?
Good.
Moving on, water system update.
Well, my plan for this was to have Mike give you an update on stuff, but since Mike's not here, I have Mike's script, so. A lot of stuff going on with the water system in the last year or so. I wanted to kind of just give you guys an update on a bunch of it. So I'm gonna start with the corrosion control stuff. So just a little bit of a background, and again, I'm somewhat reading off of Mike's notes here. So as you remember, a lot of this corrosion control stuff started back in 2019. That's when we failed a round of lead and copper samples, and we were required to conduct a corrosion control study. At the time, they hired Stantec to do that study, and it was still kind of going on, just wrapping up when I walked in the door in 2021. We submitted our final corrosion control report in December of 2021. We went back and forth with DEP through the winter months into the spring months of 2022 about the report, what it had in it for recommendations, and ultimately we landed on adding a new chemical called orthophosphate, or a polyorthophosphate blend, which what it does is it sequesters out the lead and copper. It creates that barrier against the pipes and doesn't allow the leaching. You know, it's a pretty common chemical, pretty simple to add. So with that recommendation, we had the idea that we were going to go through the permit process that we've talked about a little bit in this room. We were going to go through the permit in-house. It was very simple. I have my PE. We should be able to do it. We went back and forth with them for over a year on permit stuff. It was a very frustrating process, to the point where we finally ended up just hiring Stantec, using the money that we had allocated to implement the phosphate, to do the design, the permitting, the testing, all kinds of other stuff that they just kept adding on to stuff that we had to do. So long story short, we finally submitted another permit in September of 2023, and we just got it approved on December 7th of 2023. Now, backing up, we received a letter from the state in July 2023, and it was a summary letter, and it was talking about how the report that we submitted in December of 2021 that we got approved in, I thought was approved, in spring of 2022 was action approved, and that we had till the deadline of last Friday, February 16th, 2024, to get everything implemented. So I looked at that and I said, well, why is that deadline? It's February 16th, 2024. It's 2 years from the date of their first email to us acknowledging receipt of the report, and here's 30 comments that they had about it. After which point we went back and forth on these reports, and finally got a final sometime in the middle of March. It took them 1 year and 7 months to send us a letter stating that it was approved and that we had a deadline that was 7 months in the future. Extremely frustrating. I'll be honest, I didn't feel or read the magnitude of that until we finally got our permit approved in December. And I said, wait a minute, that's impossible. So I sent them an email. I said, listen, this is ridiculous. We need an extension. You know what I mean? We can't go beyond, we don't have any money. You ran us out of money, essentially, doing the permitting process. So I went back and forth with their higher up in December, the section chief, they call him, from the central region. He said, okay, he said, in order to do this, we need to do what's called an administrative consent order. So essentially what it is it's a paperwork exercise, a procedural exercise that would extend us out. I asked for an extension through October. Should give us plenty of time to do what we need to do. We're fully permitted, we're ready to go. So he's like, yeah, you know, you'll have to put it in any of the public documents that you send out, like the consumer confidence report that we write every year, things like that. He said, and you know, no big deal, I'll write up a draft, I'll get it to you. This was back in December. Sends it to us the end of the first week in February. And it has all kinds of language in there about we have to notify the public of this violation and within 30 days by mail or knocks on the door and all kinds of stuff, to which I raised a red flag. I said, listen, this is way over and above, like, we're not really in violation of anything. We had a bad hit in 2019. We need to make these changes, but in my opinion, they're not holding any culpability to the delays that have been caused in getting this implemented, whether it's them not giving us that deadline until July of when the deadline is, whether it's all the delays in the permitting process. So I grow pretty frustrated with the whole process, and maybe that's part of the reason why I'm fighting it like I am. But long story short, we're fighting the need for that administrative consent order. Not an easy fight. Our lawyers are assisting us with it. Talking with some people in the water community, they said, anytime you deal with like a consent order or something like that, always have counsel review it, make sure you're not missing anything. And I think, you know, I'm learning through the process as well. I've never gone through something like this before. So, but long story short, our council is trying to reach out to DEP. It sounds like we're going to have a conference call tomorrow. Finally, we're not, you know, as Bill keeps saying, is like, what are they going to do? Throw me in DEP jail? Like, there's, you know, we're working with them. We're actively trying to get this thing hammered out. I guess long story short, if we do need to send out a letter to all the people on the timeline that they're talking about, it would have to be off of a meter. It wouldn't be within a meter bill, unfortunately, because the timing doesn't work out. So my fear is that it's going to spark like a, you know, oh my God, something's wrong kind of deal if we send out a blanket standalone letter, hey, we're in violation, blah, blah, blah.
Well, what would you put in it?
They
Right.
have language that you have to use. That's what's scary about it.
Yeah, but the thing is that they gotta make sure that we understand the language so we
I
can,
know.
I
And
mean, they're not making it easy for us.
in this case, they told me that I had some leeway in the language, which is great for the 90% of the people that understand and actually read it. It's the 10% of the people, which is 200 people, that pick up the phone and panic. So
Yeah.
I want people to know that there's nothing to panic about right now. We've passed numerous lead and copper tests since then, with good results. We are still working, you know, towards this phosphate. So more to come on that. I just wanted to update you guys. I'll keep you in the loop. I'll let you know if we have to send the letter out, and I'll send you a copy of the letter so you can see it, talking points if you get questions. So I just wanted to update you on where we're at with that. All right, on to the next piece. So if you remember back in October, we had that E. coli detection in the raw water at West Sterling, well 5. Again, it was in the raw water. It got treated out. It was not in the treated water. It was deemed no threat to the public. We still had to do our notification, but that was okay. With that round, they have requested that, or mandated that well remain off until we install what's called 4-log disinfection. So log is a math term. Essentially means that you're removing 99.99% of viruses through your disinfection. Most places don't have that. It's really surface water would have that, because surface water is much more open to contaminant. Groundwater is not. Really what it comes down to is we were unable to pinpoint what might have caused that detection. We weren't able to pull out, like, we didn't find like a mouse in the well or anything like that. So we have no idea where it came from. We never saw it before. We've never seen it again. You know what I mean? So essentially what this is it's a calculation of both our UV, which takes some viruses out, and chlorine. So essentially the calculation is how much chlorine are we gonna have to add to meet this 4 log disinfection? In the past here, we've only chlorinated in the summer, not year round. This will be year round. We'll be chlorinating all the time. So we're working with Stantec to do those calculations. Essentially what it is it's a measurement of the flow in the pipe, the size of the pipe, and the distance to the first customer. Because what they're looking at is called contact time. How much time does the chlorine in contact with the water before it reaches that first customer? The bigger the pipe, the slower the flow rate, the more time it has. The smaller the pipe, the faster the flow rate, the less time it has, the more chlorine you need to zap 99.99% of viruses before you reach that first customer. All very complicated, I understand. It's just something that we're working through right now.
Do we have a projected cost increase on that?
Not at this time.
Because we don't know how much we're gonna have.
Luckily, we have the infrastructure already in place, like we already can do chlorine. We don't really have the infrastructure to permanently do chlorine. Right now, seeing that we only do it seasonally, we have what's called a day tank. It's like a 55-gallon tank. We fill the tank, it pumps out, we fill the tank, it pumps out. For permanent chlorine, eventually, they're gonna be looking for
Storage, right?
a bulk tank. And we are out of room.
Yeah, but we also got to pull a permit for, bulk storage if we have to,
Sure do.
and that
And
costs money.
we need a place to put it. There is no more, I mean, it's tricky. This is tricky. Which kind of leads in to the next piece. So, some of you folks may have, I'll read from Mike here, may have or will have residents reach out to you about discolored water. Chlorine causes discolored water because what it does is it oxidizes the iron and manganese that's in the water and it makes it visible. So very frustrating for us because without that chlorine, you probably wouldn't see that iron and manganese. Now, one somewhat positive is that if you go back to the corrosion stuff, I said we're adding an orthopolyphosphate blend. That blend, and the reason for the blend is it's supposed to remove some of the iron and manganese, which is the reason we went with that blend to try to double whammy it, help with the corrosion control and help with some of the discolored water side. So it's not the end all be all 100% fix. That's a $7 million treatment plant. You know what I mean? With filters and the whole deal. That's how you fix it, end all be all. But it's a step in the right direction of trying to help the situation. So we're gonna have to mitigate that with some more robust, more frequent flushing, particularly the areas that see it the worst. You know, it's unfortunately, it's what we're dealing with water right now. So it's been a lot. Been just a lot of hits, one after the other of, you know, one thing after the other of things to fix. So I'm sorry if that got technical or rambly or whatnot, but I just wanted to give you guys an update of some of the stuff that we're working on. It's been busy on that side, trying to get everything right. That's what we're trying to work on.
That's a lot.
It is.
And everything was done right before. Oh, sorry.
We good on that?
So I got.
All right. Blaine?
Oh, yeah.
I'm all set with that. Yep.
Actually,
Yeah.
one question.
Yes.
Do you need us to contact our reps or our elected officials?
I've contemplated it. Let me get through calls with legal tomorrow, potentially tomorrow, and I'll let you know. It has
Okay.
certainly crossed my mind. And I know you're a good resource for that.
Don't like to bother people unnecessarily.
Right. No, I understand.
But if we need people to, I mean, it sounds like the state people are a little overworked and they're sort of like not understanding the ramifications of their
So
delays.
that
And
is definitely an issue. They don't understand fiscal budgeting. So if you told me that I needed to do something, I need to do something.
Mhm.
From on February 20th, 2024. It's gonna be at least a year and 5 months before I have money to do it, right? My budget's submitted. It's already getting cut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not putting more in. So as, you know, we make our requests in November, December. If for the work money we get in July, like that's the way the wheels of fiscal budgeting turn. So they seem to struggle with that. I'll give you an example. After some of these detections, we had all our tanks inspected, which I had alluded to last meeting. And they've been very regimented on like, we need those inspection reports with the recommendations. So some of the recommendations, you know, the tank inspection company is just like, yeah, just ranks them. Well, some of them are ranked as a 2, which says you should do sometime within the next year. Now, they're not like, to me, they're not that big of a deal. So we've been fighting tooth and nail with the tank inspection company, like, listen, this doesn't make any sense as the 2. It should be in the 5-year plan or something, you know, and they're taken aback by the fact that DEP is putting so much stock into what they're writing. Because DEP picks up that report and says, okay, says right here, you do this within a year, here's your timeline.
Mhm.
And we're stuck. I can't drain a tank and scrub the inside for potential biofilm this summer. That costs money. You know what I mean? It's not something that we can do in-house. Like, so all that kind of stuff requires planning and budgeting. And I understand that there are certain things that are short-term that you have to get done. I get it. But some stuff isn't. And we're being very cautious with what we're, you know, submitting.
So zooming out a little bit, would it make sense, since we are at some point going to have to meet with finance committee, to educate them on the need for a contingency fund for these kind of situations?
We have our water reserve fund. I just don't
Is it
think,
larger?
probably not. And we
That
could
was
easily
my
add
point.
to it.
That's my point.
And it wouldn't affect the taxpayer one bit. 'Cause,
Correct.
You know what I mean? So that's something to look at in the future, for
Mhm.
sure. I like to use the reserve fund for like an emergency. You know,
Agreed.
I wouldn't consider this stuff emergencies, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Well, I think the people at the finance committee, and I know we're gonna be talking about this, so I keep on harping on it. They need the education.
Yeah.
They need the understanding. I think the cuts people are talking about don't make any sense to me, and it seems like, you know, they wanna pay for 3 wheels and have the other wheel not on the truck. That's what it feels like.
It seems to me that a lot of these deadlines and this stuff is like smokescreen, a farce. There's 358 towns in this state. You can't tell me we're the only ones going through
There's
this.
about 600 public water systems.
Yeah.
Okay,
More.
so
And
it, this is to me, it seems like some kind of farce. I don't, they should know about the municipal budgets and so forth, and not just.
When I called a bunch of industry contacts about this situation last week, they were like, oh, pretty standard DEP.
Yeah, well,
I was
I'm
like,
not
"Yep,
surprised, especially with the state, but. Well, Are we good on that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry for the
Well, we could go on
side,
about that.
yeah, I know the side.
Especially with the frustration.
Yeah,
All right, Main Street curb alignment.
All right, don't get caught up in what's actually on the plan. Don't worry too much about that. Focus here, we want to look at is the curbing bump outs. So, what you have in front of you are two different plans. One of them shows a bump out at the crosswalks. And the other one does not. It shows, just curbing. And this plan has gone to the select board. I believe you guys looked at it briefly, myself, Bill, and you guys, and we're kind of getting a flavor of what people prefer. I will tell you that I prefer the straight curb, maintenance wise, more than anything else. And I do believe that that was Bill's idea, and I think that was what you guys you didn't? He sent it out to you guys. Oh, a month ago? All right. Well,
I have,
maybe we're ahead. I thought we were behind. So again, I mean, you don't have to give me an answer. You can think about it a little bit. I feel like the bump outs are going to be tricky for maintenance, especially plowing. The good thing about them is it chokes traffic a little bit, which is what you want. That's traffic. But I don't know. I think I like the straight curb. I think it's a little bit cleaner. So I'm open to any opinions on
I, for one, don't have to think about it. I'm against the bump outs.
Me too.
Maintenance wise, number one. They're gonna be getting hit, broken. But it's harder to plow, it's more time consuming, and you can't do the same quality job, number two. Number three, it's not when they get hit by a plow, Number three, it's not if they get hit by a plow, it's when they get hit by a plow, and now we've been to plow frame. And so on and so forth. Pardon the pun, but it's I just think. How much is it actually gonna curb the traffic in the center of town? You still have your lane widths and so forth, so the way people drive nowadays, the only thing is, it looks like it may be coming out to the edge of a parking spot or just before, so it's not gonna slow speeds. Except for maybe a couple of turns here, but anyways, that's my opinion. I prefer the straight. And that's a long-term maintenance cost thing.
I agree.
It's just not us either. Other people hit them, then they're gonna come to us.
Right.
And we gotta fix their cars. I mean,
Well, Alaska's.
they gotta, let me tell you, they'll go do tooth and nail.
well. I don't like the bump outs either, except there was one reason for one, and it had to do with sight lines. Coming off of Meeting House Hill and
Which one?
coming off of Meeting
The
House Hill.
one.
Yeah, there's only one.
So if you look at it,
No.
it's already been
They
modified.
moved it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And the
When you go with
problem,
the bump out,
well, I don't think the bump out is the solution to the sight lines. That's where I was going. I feel like, but that was the only one that could possibly
City
be
in the city,
justified in my mind, not that one, this one. Because this is the one that you have difficulty when you're in a vehicle. When I was in my truck looking this way, if there was somebody parked here in a reasonable sized vehicle, you couldn't see a car coming. And so this sight line is a serious issue. And I'm not sure the bump out solves it, but that was the justification that they spoke about. I don't know how many years ago I was in that meeting, and I was like, okay, well.
Yeah.
But there's no question that it just can increase cost, installation cost and maintenance costs. And I really am against the bump up. I don't
Great.
think. So
That's all
that's,
I need to know.
yeah,
That's all I need to know.
I probably won't be alive by the time this is done. Anything like that.
really, I mean,
Huh?
you're not feeling it?
No.
No.
How many years we've been working on this?
Yeah, 2006 was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, well, this is good.
Yeah.
It's one step at a time.
All right, you good with the curb alignment?
Done stepping.
While is that all we're talking about there? We can't talk about the drainage?
I mean, you can, and
Do you
I
have
have
an
a set
update?
of 25% plans.
Okay,
We're making progress,
all right,
I guess. So as the 25 progresses to something that.
can we
is
look at
actually
them?
feasible, sure, you can look at them, yeah.
All right,
They're gonna change a ton.
of course, I just like to see what they're paying attention to.
Yeah.
I don't care what goes on downtown,
Well,
the
it's
drainage, where's it gonna go?
I still,
Same spot.
And back up like it's been doing now.
Yeah.
Cause they won't let us touch it.
I don't know. Here we go. Well, we gotta deal with it.
All right, FY 25 budget update, letter to the select board.
All right, a couple of things on this. Let me go through the budget update real quick and then I'll touch on the letter. So next Tuesday at 6:30 PM, I'll be presenting select board. If the three of you could attend, be very helpful. Yes,
If we do,
I'll post a meeting.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if what I'll do is I'll post a meeting. I saw the Board of Health did that for tonight.
Uh-huh.
Because they're going after Butsy. So next Tuesday, 6:30 PM, I believe it's just us. Have our own night. So we'll be, as they say, what did they say the other day? Oh, have our day in court, whatever that means.
Who said that?
It's like the finance committee. You can have your day in court, they said.
Good. We'll put him right in the back. of it.
So let me just give you a rundown of what their biggest questions are gonna be, based on what I've been hearing. I do wanna say thank you to one of our liaisons. He has called me every Wednesday after every one of their meetings to fill me in on what's been happening, and he's fought for us in the capacity that he can. And I do appreciate that. So we do have a good working relationship with our liaison over there. And so this is where a lot of this, stuff came from, at least it allows us to be prepared. All right, so they have questions about the wages and salary line items. They're higher than they would like to see, what that's worth. We already know why my salary line item's higher, and it's because it's multiple years of increases, because last year's increase wasn't in my salary line item, it was in a different line item. Well, now it's in the line item, so it went from, at 3%, looks like it's 13%, but really it should have been 6 and 6. You know what I mean? Which is exactly what the DPW wages is at, 6.6% or something like that. What that includes is the 3% base wage adjustment across the entire town, as well as various step increases for our employees. It also has a small increase in overtime, because for the last couple of years, we've been up against it with overtime. So, it creeps up over time. You can't run with $40,000 a year in overtime for 20 years. Eventually things start to cost more. So I'll be explaining some of those. There was a strange thing that happened 2 weeks ago where they voted on recommending a number of capital items or not recommending. And at that time, they had voted to not recommend our lawnmower replacements. They also voted split vote to recommend the paver on the DPW side, but then voted to deny it on the water side, not understanding that it was half paid from water, half from DPW, not two pavers. So since that time, the mower went through
Mhm.
and it got re-voted on, and it is recommended, and the paver got voted on and is recommended. So as far as I can tell, all of our capital items are still moving forward. That brings us to the local roads money. So they feel, remember last meeting, I gave you the letter of the additional money that we were granted. So they feel that because we got that money, that we don't need the local roads match from the town this year.
But where'd the money come from?
Came from the state.
Correct, not from the townspeople. So they gotta understand that, and they're gonna know it.
I think we should invite them to a couple meetings so they can actually comprehend what's going on here.
Well, the whole idea behind finance committee, in my experience, is they get the package, which is why I spend so much time putting this together. And then if they have questions, they ask questions. Well, the issue this year has been, they haven't been asking the questions. And they've just been going ahead and making
Statement.
recommendations, statements, voting on things like just the fact that they voted on capital items without us even talking to us doesn't make any sense to me. I approached one of them and I said, how can you vote no on an item? You've never even asked me about it. Like,
I mean,
You give them authority to do that anyway.
lawnmowers have a
Well,
life.
they
you
actually,
could vote no on everything, you know what I mean?
well, this is,
And just remember, they're a board that makes recommendations. They're an advisory board.
there.
That's the
This
word,
is important.
recommendation.
Yep. And I do know that our select board is very much behind the departments. If you look at a town meeting warrant, any of our items say the DPW board recommends, the select board recommends, the finance committee, whatever, usually recommends. In my experience in municipal life, very rarely does it show up. The select board recommends passage, the finance committee doesn't. It shows up from time to time. But it's not too common. I've seen it happen on a couple school budgets over in Holden, which always pass anyways. But this year I can see it happening more, I guess, is kind of where I'm going. So that kind of goes into the letter I drafted. You guys get a chance to read it? So essentially all we're asking as a department is a chance to explain why we need or are asking for what we're asking for. Because what it kind of comes off as to us is that we're just frivolously asking for random things to see if it sticks, and we just want all this money and we'll just figure out what to do with it later. Like that's not what's in this book. You know what I mean? That's not what we think about when we put a capital plan together. And yes, some capital items I don't have forecasted 5 years in advance. Just what happens. We have how many pieces of equipment, we have how many roads, we could have a culvert that needs to be replaced, we could have any different kind of stuff that needs to happen like that. We can't forecast everything. Same thing goes with operating. Costs have gone up. Our operating budget is set to increase by 1.1%. That is way low, lower than what they asked. But I asked for what I think we needed. Fuel's going down a little bit, that helps. Some costs are starting to level out. Maybe they could change it again, who knows? But essentially the crux of the letter, it's not reprimanding anybody. It's saying, listen, we understand that there's been some contentious behavior going on. We want to do this in a collaborative approach. It says right in there how much time we spend at our meetings. We go over this. We've started in November. At least 4 or 5 meetings. We've talked about this stuff, presented it, talked about it, presented it again. So there's a lot of discussion that goes into this. We've had members at our meetings listening to the presentations. So it's just kind of to reinforce you guys are one of the few elected boards in this town. And that holds some weight. So, you know, it was kind of something that we thought would be a good idea. So if you guys are good with it, I have a copy here with an updated date. We can send it on the select board. You know, the finance committee falls under the umbrella of the select board, which is why it's written too.
When was the last time that the townspeople paid over $100,000 worth of road repair money?
Last 2 years,
last 2 years.
we've had $250,000.
All right, then in the past,
Oh,
back,
for me, I don't. think
Never.
that
never.
Never happened.
They
It's
never,
always, we use the chapter 90 money and that's all we use. That's why the roads went to shit.
and Dean makes a good point, because a couple of years ago,
Now
They
that we
didn't-
want it,
no, wait a minute, a couple of years ago, they didn't have a detailed budget, did they?
No, there was no.
There was
oh,
nothing. So now we're like spelling everything out so that they know where the money's going. I mean, it's really well done. And they know where it's going, and the only way that we can run this is with continued backing from the finance people.
Right.
In other words, we're not trying to spend money needless. So I think people are having a hard time believing that the change that has happened here, and I think that might be part of this,
Could be.
that some of the people are looking from how it was a couple years ago, when somebody would call the office and they would go, "We need this much money," and shut up. I mean, that would be their response. And we're now we're giving them a multi-page, well-done spreadsheet saying, and we're backing it up with actual costs.
play by play.
And this is the way we're doing it, is the way it needs to be done. They're just not used to it. So I think we have to cut them a little slack.
Yep.
But I also think we have to talk to them, because
Educate them.
Educate.
is educate, and because I really think we should be putting $400,000 or $500,000 of the town's money into the roads, because I think we're still playing catch up.
And I can tell you that like Bill's 100% on that page. That's
Uh-huh.
what we're trying to get to.
I know.
You know what I mean? And I do, on the flip side, I understand that we got some extra money this year. And if they needed, you know, we already asked for 300.
Uh-huh.
If they need to bump it down, back down to 250 or something, I understand. Like it's an easy one to move around a little bit, but knocking it down to 100K or taking it out altogether, I'm still trying to figure out what they did with it.
That's
It's
and
too-
this is why I think it's good that we're gonna be there.
Yep.
Because that'll give us a chance to speak.
And I can assure you that I will be educating them on what we are trying to do next.
I'm sure.
So I'll have plenty of talking points put together and, but if you guys can be there for some support, that would be very helpful. Very helpful. So, are you guys good with the letter? Any
No, I think the
changes?
letter's very good.
I'm good with the
I'm
letter.
fine with
I
that.
have one with an updated date, if you don't mind, just, if you wanna just pass it down. And just bring that back.
Same letter.
Same letter,
Yeah.
new date.
Ay, ay, ay.
Money.
We'll just sub everything out. Keep the hell like that.
Oh,
Hey. Let them buy their own lawnmower.
ching, ching.
So just make sure I get that back.
Yeah, I'll put it in.
So I have on.
Okay. DPW Building Committee.
All right, so before we start to get into it, I just want to, I literally found this randomly on the website the other day. I wasn't even looking for it. And it's titled Boards and Committees with Openings or Vacancies, Posting and Interview Policy. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And essentially what it says is that, you know, there is a process to how to gain or establish members of a public board. Nothing out of the ordinary. Essentially, it just says you need to post it for 21 days, let people submit their letters of interest, and then we get to review the letters of interest. You know what I mean? But so that I just wanted to say that there is a policy in place for that kind of stuff. But I'm open to, if you guys had any thoughts on, you know, kind of stuff we talked about last week, and something maybe we can start to put out some, you know, put out a posting of that we're looking for members, but what you guys had in mind, or not necessarily who, but structure wise. You know, if you had any thoughts on that stuff.
Well,
I'd like
I
to
get,
talk about it next.
I guess to start, my opinion is probably a 5-member committee,
I'm on the same boat.
not more than that. You get too many cooks in the kitchen, it gets confusing. I would like to see some diversification of people. And I've talked to a few people about it. We'll see what happens, but that's all I got for right now.
What were we gonna say, Lee? Start to say
Pretty
something.
much the same thing. I'm concerned about, because I was on the master plan committee and there were so many people. That was really a problem.
I'd say no more than 5.
Yeah.
No less than 5.
Now, I am a retired architect.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of programming for these kind of things, and I'm not sure if I should be on the committee because of that, or if I should just be on the side because of that. I don't know.
I think it makes sense to have at least one member from this board on the committee. I think that makes sense, you know.
Well, in that case, I have professional training in this,
Right. That's for you guys to decide, you know what I
but
mean?
I don't know. That's a plus and a minus.
Uh,
You know? And this kind of,
You don't wanna know my opinion on architects.
Well, how do you guys feel about at least going through the process where we start to solicit some interests? And then, you know, quite frankly, anybody that you have in mind, let
Well, I
them know that that posting's up, you know, and
I think privately, we've been, for lack of a better term, some of us have already
Sure.
been snooping,
yeah,
asking about interest.
yeah,
I think moving forward, we ought to get the letter drafted.
yeah,
I mean, this is a long-term project. This
Yes.
isn't gonna happen. We're not breaking ground next fall.
no,
We all know that. So I think first and foremost, we ought to get the letter drafted so we can review it and agree, disagree, or
Yep.
or discuss it. And, you know, it's just one more step in keeping this ball rolling.
so let me put that as my goal to get for you guys for the next meeting is the posting. What it would, you know what I mean, that we would put up on the town bulletin boards and the website and all that stuff.
Again, we're.
Soliciting interest.
Again, I'm gonna
essentially.
throw you under the bus, under the table, and let you worry about the language.
Yep.
Are the 3 of us in agreement that we're thinking about 5 members?
Yes.
And I don't know how you'd word it in there, but diversification, you
Yep.
know, somebody with a finance background, an architect background, a maintenance background, you know, I don't know how you'd word that, but
Right,
that's my thought.
okay, I like that, I mean, essentially. what you
Finance
guys will-
background, the teacher of finance committee.
What you guys will do is you'll have a stack of paper in front of you, of
Yeah,
different
pretty
people who have applied and say, okay, here's a good diversified
They will
group.
be.
Right,
You know what I mean, so,
but
yeah,
my
Yeah.
thought would be, you know, however you choose to word it in the letter, that we are actively seeking a diversified group from
Right.
multiple backgrounds, blah, blah.
yep, understand,
Thinking about the people who were in 2006 working on the downtown,
Oh,
right?
I can't remember where they are.
Well, Dick probably knows.
Oh, Dick.
but-
What does this mean?
Dick-
He said,
Dick's
"Don't
like,
bring-
Dick's like willing away to
Don't
boards.
let it
He's,
go.
he's sliding
he's
into,
happy to be sitting on that side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but he's a good catch if we need someone.
Okay.
Always in my back.
So, yeah, that's my thought, is let's get
Mhm.
rolling
Good.
on the,
We don't have to make a motion. on
Nope.
it. No, let's just do it. So that's next month, right?
Right.
we good on that?
Good.
Mhm.
Perfect. Project update.
Really keep those moving in here. So the first thing I want to talk about is this big stack of paper that you have
Yeah,
in
that's,
front of you. So this is a report that's called the roadway safety audit for the Route 62-140 intersection. Just yet another step in the rigorous process that is a transportation improvement plan project with the Mass DOT. This report is the culmination of a many-hour meeting between various town departments, fire, police, DPW, town admin, planning, as well as numerous DOT folks from Boston, District 3, traffic, safety, bike and pedestrian, environmental, all kinds of different things. And essentially what we did is we went through their process about our concerns with the intersection. They pulled a bunch of data from their stuff about accidents. You know, the police chief talked about what he's seen in his career. The fire chief's talked about what he's seen at that intersection in his career and what the common issues tend to be. Then we visited the site, verified all those issues pretty much, and came up with this report. Essentially, it's a public document. I believe we posted online. If we haven't, I will. I should have already. And essentially, it's got a lot of information in it, a lot of all the bulk of it, the traffic counts in the back. This stuff is, you know, kind of benign. But yeah, just a report I want you guys to have a copy of. Bedside reading.
Huh. Yeah,
Let's
I
see.
live reading.
Hmm.
I live reading.
Mm.
Water meters have been a little bit slow because we're out of meters and having a hard time getting new ones. So, meters are one of the things that haven't quite caught up yet with COVID. The problem is, I say COVID or whatever. Problem is we have, you know, we have a particular unit that we're using and it has an end, a plug that plugs into the meter. Well, it's getting the proper plugs. It seems to be the delay. So we have some meters coming, should be soon. So we're getting there. I'm just saying we didn't put in a couple hundred this month like we have been. As soon as we get more, we'll be right back at it. We think we're sending out 50 letters tomorrow. But like I said, we're a little over about 30%. So we're in pretty good shape. It's a slow process. We're getting there. We gotta go in every single house. We decide, make an appointment, get active, do the work, get it verified. You know what I mean? It's not like an electric meter where you can walk up to the outside and switch it and walk away. So a little bit trickier. Updated you guys already on the corrosion control study stuff. The Crowley Road source, there's been numerous reports submitted to the state agencies over the last month. That includes that pump test report that you had, I think, last meeting. It includes what's called an ENF or environmental notification form. It's a lot of the permit document, long lead time review stuff has been submitted. So thanks to Dave, who you guys met a couple weeks ago, who was here for that work. He prepared all that stuff, and we're well on our way. The West Sterling generator replacement project, I got 95% plans this morning, which is exciting. That project should go out to bid here in the next couple of weeks. Actually. So again, that's the replacement of the generator, as well as numerous electrical upgrades over there that we desperately need. So that will help. And I have some good news on equipment. If you remember at the last meeting, I asked you guys if you would consider switching the Chevy orders that we had to Fords. And 2 weeks later, the salesman walked in the door and from Chevy and said, hey, your trucks are in the transportation system. They're gonna land in Massachusetts sometime in the middle of February. One of them made it to Massachusetts yesterday, and the other one is on their way. We might see the one that made it yesterday as early as this week. So that is good.
Wow.
Don't ask me why. These car places no longer work for you. You work for them. They have as many orders as they can fulfill, so they're not looking for your sale anymore. It's a sad thing. I found it tough. I have one good guy, actually, who Dave turned me on to, who I really enjoyed working with. That's who we ordered truck 9 through. And I'm going to keep working with them. This guy who we got the Chevys from, but we're getting there. So, truck 8, we have been looking up and down. You wouldn't believe the number of 2-wheel drive 450s or 550s that are out there. And we've made the decision internally that 2-wheel drive, just for what that vehicle is just not an option for us. I don't trust sending someone out. It's not a frontline truck, so it's a truck that maybe someone less experienced will be in or whatever. Send them out, a 2-wheel drive unit. But boy, there are so many. We looked at a couple. I've sent messages on a bunch with no response, typical marketplace stuff. We're trying. We're gonna keep trying. Maybe we change our mind eventually, but for right now, I'm still on the 4-wheel drive camp. I think it's
Very tough market with any trucks right now, and it has been for a couple of years. I don't see it changing. It is what it is.
We had a good run. I mean, I was messaging like 4 or 5 people a day for one weekend a couple weeks ago, and then it's dried up again on my feed. So I looked at Chevys, I looked at Fords, single rear wheel, dual rear wheel, dumps, flatbeds. They're out there. It's finding one that isn't
It's
gonna
worth it.
Right. So we're trying, but we're making do. So I got that.
Joe, since we're talking about trucks, I have a question.
Yes,
Has the town of Hudson reached out to you about being loaned a truck?
they have not. I think they're probably just a little too far away. They talked to you guys. You gave them a truck, yeah. Typically,
Where'd you give them?
A Volvo 10-wheel with a chassis mounted, dedicated chassis mounted spreader. Okay.
typically they'll go to like the town
I know.
touching them, yeah, but I
know they got one from what, Boylston or Bolton, and one from Marlboro, I think.
I know West Boylston has one from Boylston right now, so I'd be surprised if Boylston had another to give up, but
Maybe it was Bolton, I don't remember. It was either Bolton or Boylston that.
how many did they need, you know?
Well, the three spreaders went down, but they were actually looking at back trucks because their back trucks were the same.
They lost 7 trucks total.
How did they
They
leave?
melted the windshield.
Fire.
The smoke and the heat, yeah,
Yeah, but
right,
at least 4 of them melted.
yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you gotta help.
On Tuesday after the storm.
The storm that was,
Light duty trucks, but they were all set, they just didn't have stuff.
Okay.
wow.
I was just wondering if they reached
They
out.
did not, no, they did not.
Okay. Wow. That's,
All right, we good on that?
Good.
But you can give them what, a spreader? I know their vac truck, but actually they had lost 2 vac trucks. Superintendent's update.
All right, this one is somewhat quick tonight. We are currently at 14 snow and ice events. Believe it or not, this is exactly where we were last year at this time. We were at 14 events on as of February 21st last year. So it's a little bit eerie how similar this year has been in terms of events, salt usage, salt purchased. It's within 100 ton, which is pretty impressive when we use 2000. So we'll see. We're here for it. We've been enjoying getting out and doing some tree work, get the road report back on the road. We did a couple of basin repairs 2 weeks ago, so we're taking advantage of the weather. We like to get outside. The trucks are clean and gives us some time to make some, I'll transfer from the repairs to the improvements, right? So it's nice to have that time and we're trying to make the best of it. But as we get into March, sun shines for a little bit longer during the day, snow doesn't stick around as long, and we're rolling through the winter with doing pretty good here. So but again, 14 events, right on track with last year. We did 20 last year for what it's worth. But, we have finally rolled out our new work order system. Began using it last week. So this system allows us to track calls for service that come into the office. What we do is we take the call, we enter it into the program. We print out a copy for Paul or whoever it's for. And then when Paul has, or whoever has completed that action, they write down what they did. So say it says pothole on Northeast Boulevard, we'll put it on the board. Paul will take it. When he's done, he writes filled pothole 220. We have the date that it was filled. We have that it was completed. We enter that back into the system. And now we have a permanent record that when someone calls us and says, we called and you never did this, I can pull it up and say, well, I have right here that it was completed on 220. You know what I mean? So at least we have that record now. This is a system that I've used in the past. And the beauty of it is the longer we go with it, the more built out it gets. We get a big database, and as you get that database, everything's tagged to a category. So we can now start to map them. And you can put a scatter map that says potholes, map them, and you'll see clusters. Where are we going all the time? Yes, we know in the back of our head where we're going, but the finance committee doesn't. You know what I mean? So you can print that map out and say, here's the last 5 years of pothole complaints.
Will it do yearly percentages of labor?
So
Like 5% on potholes, 10% on tree work.
yeah, we can absolutely do that. Yep, absolutely do that. And it'll give us the number of requests, you know what I mean? So I can now put into the annual report, the DPW responded to 652 calls for service, Again, it's as good as the information you put in there. There's plenty of other things that maybe get missed, but at least it's a start, right? We're trying to take our steps. I thank Paul and Sue and Jenna and everyone else for being open to it and working with this learning curve, but we'll get there. So the paving bid package for 2025 should hopefully be available to contact contractors by the end of this month or beginning of March. What I'm working on now is Pratt's. Pratt's is a complicated animal. We have 3 areas under DOT jurisdiction. The intersection with 12, the intersection with Choxit, and the 900 feet under the underpass. We have 2 railroad crossings, both with CSX. So I have retained Green International, who does a lot of our small little highway type stuff, and he's going to help with the permitting. I reached out to DOT. They said they want design plans of what it's going to look like. Their concern is height, right? If we add 2 inches for a leveling course, that 14 feet changes to 1310, or we know
That 14-foot bridge down there is not 14 feet now.
Yeah,
right. I know.
I ripped my load cover off on that many a times.
But so that's the kind of stuff
Stay
that
to the left, Andy.
I know.
So we're beginning that process. But as far as like the regular paving stuff, that should be able. And the paving bids are quantity based, they're not road based. So the quantities will be in there, but it won't, we're kind of at the mercy of permitting, but we're trying to get it going here. So that's kind of what we're working on. And like I said, that makes it complicated. Believe it or not, the railroad's going to be the most difficult. I mean, you might believe it, but the railroad's going to be the most difficult because they're not responsive. DOT is pretty good. They've been very helpful to me. I can't say anything bad about DOT. Railroad, they're not really responsive, but hopefully having a consultant on board who's familiar with permitting with CSX, it'll be helpful. He was like, it's not MBTA, is it? I said, no, it's not MBTA. He's like, okay, that helps. Because there's 6+ month turnaround for stuff.
Just put it on your radar, Ryan, about that intersection at Albright and Pratt's.
Yes, the puddle.
We don't want to do anything there until we figure out how we're gonna get rid of that water.
Absolutely. And finally, unfortunately, FEMA decided that the damage from the September 11th, 2023 rainstorm did not qualify for federal reimbursement. So this includes all the damage in Leominster, Princeton, us, and many other communities across the state that were affected by these rains. Luckily for us, our impact was significantly less than other communities who were well into the millions worth of damage and repairs and whatnot. I've been working with the town administrator to determine how to best cover the money that's in the account that we use for storm damage. It's about 28,000. It'll probably come from a reserve fund transfer or something. It's not going to impact our operating budget.
Poor Ben.
Poor Leominster, 28 million they spent or something
My
like
God.
that. But yes,
Poor
or
Ben.
Princeton, yeah,
Yeah,
I know. That's a lot for a small town like that to absorb.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of material, tons of material.
They're not even done.
I was blown away
We
how
didn't
quickly they denied it.
but they were right there watching you.
Wait a minute.
They were right there mandating the material and what they wanted, this and that, and now they don't want to pay for it.
Is it final?
I don't know. There's some other pot of money somewhere that someone's going.
That's why I read this silly thing.
FEMA denied it. So the feds, there's something related that, but, so
On the
for
way-
our small piece, I wouldn't be,
on the way out to California.
maybe. I know, I was surprised, but must not have met the
That's
threshold.
not right, though.
That's all I have.
Mm,
Don't get mad. Get even.
mm.
Um,
I'm gonna get even with FEMA.
did you go around it?
Call Biden.
No.
Go through, right,
Yes.
right straight through.
What?
Uh,
Why these people exist if they're not going to be doing
I'm
their
gonna
job?
mandate with, materials if they're not paying.
Well, I think
Right.
DOT paid for that though, didn't they?
they
I
wanted,
mean, I don't think DOT is gonna charge Princeton.
there was a,
I
there was
hope.
a FEMA job, paid,
Oh,
it was a state job paid by FEMA.
Oops.
That,
So now
that
that
was the
was-
biggest thing.
all right.
That was right out of the state guy.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's odd.
There's a lot of oddness about this. whole-
Yeah. Cause we asked the question
Yeah,
before we
that's-
started. Million freaking yards of gravel
Yeah,
spread out through a tailgate.
Greater time, reclaim time, and that's 10 grand a day. How many days, weeks, right? You're
Yeah.
out there.
Probably almost a million yards of 2 to 4 inch rock,
Wow.
just to bring the road back up to where it was
That road was
above flood stage. Again, because it was in the middle of the mountain.
It sure was. I went up there, to see what you were working on. So what a mess. Wow.
They want it done, but then they don't want to pay for it when it's done.
all right. You all set with the update?
I'm all set.
All right. Future agenda items?
Can I give you two?
Sure.
Just, real quick, I don't want to discuss too much about it. Well, the first one, we'll put the building committee back on there.
That was gonna be mine.
All right, and second, there are 5 trees. How many trees? are there? Five trees in Hillside Cemetery, Road D. They are all ash trees, and they are all dead. And we'd like to take them down. So because it's hillside, because it's an entire row of trees, I just wanted to float it to you guys before we actually took them, and maybe we can discuss it. So if sometime in the next month, you want to take a swing through Hillside, Road D, every single ash tree. So as you may know, each row has a different species of trees. All the ashes are,
Now they protruding the roadways at stump, root wise.
no, not huge.
They're not huge.
I know, yeah, but I just didn't know if the stump, the road, everything will go in, any water lines through.
Not over there, no.
Yeah, because they're all on the ends.
Yeah. We've taken two of them down over the last probably 8 years,
Yeah.
and it's just, they're just junk.
I propose we replant something there. I just wanted, but you know, I didn't want to take an entire row of trees without at least having a conversation in a public meeting about it, so that if someone said, oh my God, you took all the trees.
Now, is that something we have to, like,
They're dead.
if we're cutting a tree down in the cemetery and a person has a plot there, do we have to notify?
We own the plots with the trees.
Okay,
There
I
are
just wanted to
no-
make sure we got all our.
Yeah, there's no, not, because Paul brought that up, like you look at the lots and it's Xed out
Mhm.
because the tree's there. And they're not street trees, so we don't have to do any of that, there's no notification, nothing like that, park trees.
Yeah, we don't wanna have to.
They just
Listen to
drop
that.
it, they're dropping a ton of stuff, and it's just more for us to pick up, and like I told Ryan, the leaders that are just coming out now, of things that we've cut over the years, they grow in little sucker,
Mhm.
that's the only thing that has leaves on it.
Do we-
Above, there's nothing
Do
up
we know
there.
why they all died?
I'm pretty sure,
Yeah,
it's the ash board,
yep.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, they're all ash, like I said, they just,
We took an ash last week at the corner of Bean and Mortimer. Beautiful tree, solid as I've ever seen, dead as a doornail.
there won't be an ash tree in New England in 5 years.
No,
I think yes, I think
Sad.
you're right. Well, we're seeing a lot.
I mean, this tree, if you cut it in half, it looks so healthy from the inside.
I was no lot on that tree at B,
Right.
at more of a beautiful. But
But the thing hasn't leafed in however many years. But just something I wanna, we'll put on the agenda.
Yep.
If you guys wanna take a ride through between now and then that way, you don't have to vote on it anymore.
How the trees in Oak Hill look?
well, I've got 4 or 5 in there to take out.
Well, if they're ash, you're gonna
Yeah,
have.
they're all maple,
These are maples, yeah, these are maples that.
all maple.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's a couple right as you first go in the entrance on the right. A couple, 2 right in a row next to each other, and then way up in the back is an old birch that just keeps dropping stuff. It's nothing on it, and nothing huge, but I like to get them out of there.
Once we get these trees down, this round down, we're gonna bring in a stump grinder for a day. And do a bunch of stumps, there's so many things. I hate stumps. So we're gonna grind them, make them smooth.
Excellent. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Paul?
You got anything?
no. Good,
No, we'll see everybody on 27th.
All right.
first time out in the week.
We'll call this meeting. 8:23.
I'm not going home yet.